Hello everyone and welcome back into the Nona studio for this week's edition of the NONA Sports Show. I am your host as always, Edgar Rodriguez, and to my left hand side, as always, Patrick DeLeon. Good morning to you. We are back at the desk and we have a lot to talk about, Patrick.
Yes.
Today we have our Nona recap. As always, we'll start there. We got some silverware this weekend, so lots to talk about there, and also a pretty major announcement. If you haven't seen it already, we're going to dive into that. Segment 2, Champions League Round of 16 starts very soon, so we're going to preview all 8 matchups and give our takes as to who might be going through or maybe getting knocked out. And then finally, USL news, of course. A USL Premier League maybe in the works. In a few years' time, we're going to give our takes on that as well. So lots of news to talk about, Patrick, this morning. It's going to be busy.
Yes, but I'm super excited. What's first on the agenda?
First on the agenda. That's a great question. So we're going to start with the MLS Next. That's right. That's not it's not a mistake, Patrick. MLS Next, Nona Soccer Academy. We have been accepted. Yeah. They are, of course, expanding their network of clubs, and we have joined. Before we give our opinions and talk a little bit about it, here is the reel we cooked up. It all starts with a passion, a goal, a promise, a dream. It's a journey worth fighting through together. As a family, as one. It's how we achieve our goals as they grow larger each and every year. With ambition, hunger, commitment. So then, it's finally time. Time to continue testing ourselves against the very best. Most determined, most talented, most fierce competition. Are you in? We are Nona. We are MLS Next. We went emotional, Patrick.
Yes.
I almost got teary-eyed there. What are your thoughts?
It was so much fun making that video. We
was.
kind of shot all of it practically in
right there,
one day.
Right in that corner.
Right. But it was like all kind of in one day, right on the whim, because it was kind of so sudden. It was like, oh, we got to make something. And
short notice.
I think it came out really nice. Footage from old past games, and then, here, obviously, in the studio, and a lot more stuff that didn't make the cut. But it's still just so much fun having that creativity, kind of that freedom to do whatever you want. And the direction we went with for this video, I think, was the right call. Yeah. Because, it's just such a huge announcement, such a big thing to look forward to in September of this year. That's when it all kicks off.
That's right. It's a few months out.
But I think that's a great way to kind of get everybody involved and hyped up and excited for this new upcoming league that we're going to participate in. And, it's MLS Next right now. That's kind of the thing for all clubs, right?
Absolutely.
It's like, so it's going to be super exciting to see how our future teams are going to look like, how they're going to stand out against our future opponents, and I'm super, super excited, super glad that we're a part of this now, for sure.
And already the club provides such a unique platform for the players here. We participate in so many leagues, but MLS Next was always kind of elusive, right? It was always like, will we get it? Of course, this has been years in the works. We had previously tried that, ended up not materializing into anything, but now is the time this year, 2025, and we couldn't be more excited.
It's huge.
And so actually in training last week, we went and we were asking the coaches before the announcement came out, what's the announcement? Some didn't even know, so we had fun with that. I'm sure you saw it on the stories. But just the buzz around the place, because like you said, MLS Next, man, it's not any random league. This is where we want our players to test themselves.
This is arguably, I guess, the premier academy developmental league, obviously sanctioned by Major League Soccer itself. So it's like that alone gives it more of that high standards, right? So of course we want to be a part of that. There's no doubt about it. Why would we not want to be a part of that? And this reel also, it did numbers too. I don't know if you realize that.
What's it at right now, views-wise?
It's at over 17,000.
That's not bad at all, Patrick.
That's really good. That's amazing. That's probably, I think that's, out of all these posts I've seen so far with a handful,
it's up there.
It's probably one of the better ones we've done, and that's super. I'm proud to see that because we want that everybody to know, like, this is what we're doing. This is who we are right now.
I can assure you my phone was blowing up because I get the notifications from our account, and my goodness, it was nonstop for like the whole day after we announced it. But yeah, it's really a testament to the hard work of everyone involved with this academy, from the office to the coaches to the players. It all came together to form this beautiful thing, and MLS Next is a reality now, and that is so, so, so exciting. We have another announcement coming up, which is related to MLS Next. Got to keep that under the under the covers for now, but you're going to want to stay tuned to social media and to next week's edition of the NONA Sports Show, because that's another big one coming up. But yeah, MLS Next, super exciting.
Yes.
We are going to be all over that, like you said, in September when it all kicks off. But let's brush that aside for a moment. It's hard to because it's such a big announcement.
So
but we got to move on. We had some action going on this past weekend at the 2025 Central Florida Invitational. It's put together by Kings Hammer and by Swan City. And at the tournament, 2014 Black, coached by Coach Donovan, our very own, winning it all. It's very nice to get some silverware under our belt.
Of course, it's always nice to win a trophy.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt. And Coach Donovan, he's a great coach. I love his team as well. Great players. I love them. And no surprise, I guess, that we brought some sort of silverware home. It was bound to happen, I'd say.
Right. And
bound to happen.
Especially for his team, too, because if you remember,
yes,
at the President's Day tournament, at the Wide World of Sports, we were there with them. We were following them closely because they were on form.
Yes,
Unfortunately,
they were.
Couldn't make it to the last hurdle, but, I mean, it's no surprise.
No,
they were headed into this tournament confident, looking good, and they did win what they deserved. Finally, they won what they deserved, and they kept going. So Central Florida Invitational success for Nona Soccer Academy. That's what we love to see. And just finally, looking forward to next weekend, Patrick. We might be going to Tampa. You want to tell the people about that?
Yeah, so we are going to do the Adidas Challenge Cup?
Champions Cup.
Champions Cup.
Excuse
me. Adidas Champions Cup.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a lot of teams over in Tampa. It's going to be a whole weekend of fun. Super excited to see how that turns out as well. I'm super excited to go on Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday we should be there on location in the Bay. It's going to be so fun down in Brandon, Florida.
Hopefully we get some beautiful weather as well.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. We don't want to, we don't want no rain or wind or gray skies.
Nothing too hot, but nice sunny weather.
That's right.
With some wind, breeze.
That will
be nice.
That will be welcome. So lots to look forward to there. But that about wraps up segment 1. So much Nona news like every single week. But let's turn our attentions now to European football round of 16 Champions League action. We're going to give our takes, so don't go anywhere.
Hi there. At Migaloo Pool, we make pool care easy, convenient, and hassle-free. We're your one-stop shop for everything your pool needs. Whether it's regular cleanings, equipment repairs, or even a completely pool remodel, our experienced team is ready to handle it all. You can trust us to keep your pool sparkling and running perfectly. Looking for supplies? Stop by our Orlando store. It's stocked with all essentials and extras to keep your pool in top shape. With Migaloo Pool, it's all in one place. Professional services, quality supplies, and a team that cares about your pool as much as you do. Let's make pool care simple and enjoyable. Contact us or visit our store and see how Migaloo can make a difference for you.
And just like that, Patrick, we are back to preview the round of 16 for the Champions League. The group phase and the knockout rounds have flown by, but now it's finally time. We have boiled it down to the best 16 teams in Europe this season.
Already.
Ready to get into it?
Yeah, of course.
Let's do it. Let's start in Belgium because Club Brugge are going to take on Aston Villa of the Premier League, of course. Now, both of these teams enter this tie 2 wins, 2 draws, and a loss in their last 5. Bruges 9 points behind Genk in first place. They currently sit second in the Belgian Pro League. Villa are 10th, and on the face of it, that might sound a little disappointing.
The Premier League is pretty close.
It's so close.
Very
the top 4 race is so close. They're only 5 points behind City in 4th. What do you think is going to happen in this one? It's an intriguing
Honestly,
tie.
I think this is a pretty even mix.
I would agree.
Honestly, I don't really expect it to go like a landslide one way or the other. With that being said, though, I think Bruges are just going to have the upper hand. Because I think they're going to be riding the high of beating Atalanta.
Sure.
Their last tie. So I think they're going to be riding that high into this matchup. I don't think it'll be landslide victories by any margin. I think over the course of 2 legs, it'll be probably like 2-1, 3-1, something like that, but nothing too decisive, right?
Interesting.
But I'm going to have to give the edge to Bruges on this one, just because I think, again, but then you have to consider like how Villa and their new signings.
I
Like
was going to say that.
Asensio,
I was going to
he's
say
doing
that.
pretty solid. Rashford also putting in the work as well.
Mm-hmm. I got to go Villa, Patrick. We might start with a disagreement
here. I think
here.
I'm going to go Bruges anyway, though.
Okay.
I think I'm going to stick with Bruges.
You're feeling Bruges. I think Villa are going to, like you said, I agree. It's not going to be anything huge. I don't expect, a crazy victory like they saw away at Atalanta. Of course, Bruges are going to be riding that wave. But I think Aston Villa under Unai Emery, he kind of just has that experience and the know-how in Europe. I think it's going to prevail for Aston Villa. And like we said, Marco Asensio, man, like he was kind of forgotten almost at PSG. He's come back into the spotlight. Marcus Rashford, I mean, that move to Villa, it was always necessary for him. Kind of thought, okay, this will reignite him, and it surely has. So I think Bruges, it's a step too far for Bruges, I think.
You think so?
Villa to advance, Patrick.
I think compared to all like previous year's opponents, this is probably the most favorable one they could get. So I think they're going to take full advantage of it.
Okay.
Especially this year. I mean, I think they're happy with drawing Villa over the likes of literally any other team right now that's in it.
Good point. But we are going to see what happens. That's, of course, on Tuesday, the early game on Tuesday. Started with a little, with a little disagreement there, but that's okay. Let's move on because your Dortmund, the black and yellow, face Lille of France. Now, Dortmund, defensively, they've locked it up recently. 3 straight clean sheets heading into this one.
What a surprise.
Right? 4 in their last 5, something I didn't think we would be saying about this Dortmund side, which is so up and down. Of course, that's not to cover up the fact that they are 10th in the Bundesliga. It's not the same situation as in the Premier League. They are way back in the Bundesliga. Of course, Bayern running away with it, Leverkusen running away with it. But Lille, it's tough. They got knocked out by a second division side in Coupe de France recently. Of course, qualified in the top 8, Lille, pretty surprising. But I think Dortmund are going to be confident and ready to go for this one.
I think this is also another case of just a pretty kind of even matchup. But I do think Dortmund's just going to have the edge because I think during Champions League play, sure, they didn't make it to the automatic top 8, but they still played really, really well this European campaign. Obviously, moving Bundesliga aside, right?
Yes.
But Lille
completely.
also, I think right now, considering they finished and made it to this point, right, qualifying top 8, I think they're going to be pretty confident as well. So I honestly am not too sure which way this could go, but this first leg is being played in Germany at Signal Iduna Park. I think Dortmund, if they can take advantage of that first leg, get 2-3 goals and keep a clean sheet again,
like they did against Sporting,
they might be able to wrap it up.
Absolutely, I agree. That's going to be pivotal. Of course, their first leg against Sporting was in Portugal, and they did the job 3-0.
Yeah.
Boom, three second half goals. This one reversed, of course, against Sporting. They didn't have to push for it, and quite frankly, they didn't. It was 0-0 against Sporting. They held on to their 3-0 advantage, but they're going to have to be on the front foot.
Yeah.
They're going to have the incredible support they always do at home.
Of course.
And I think Lille might, this might be the hurdle they fall on. Although it's been a great Champions League campaign. Like
for sure.
So Dortmund. All right, let's lock that in. The black and yellow to advance, of course, last year's finalists.
Right.
Let's move on, though, to the Madrid
I think this is probably
derby.
the biggest game.
The one that has me most excited.
Yeah.
Most excited, apart from PSV Arsenal. But the Madrid derby, this is just so difficult to call. The last 3 Madrid derbies in La Liga, Patrick, 1-1. Nothing to separate them. They both sit in the top 3 in La Liga. Okay, so let's look at Real Madrid first.
Yeah.
They're missing the likes of Bellingham, Fede Valverde, Dani Ceballos got a leg injury. He's been featuring a little more recently. Contrast that to Atletico Madrid. I mean, they are as well-oiled a machine as I've ever seen them.
Honestly, I could argue, outside of Liverpool, right, in all of Europe right now, Atletico Madrid might
dangerous.
Be one of the hottest teams right now. And that's saying something.
They beat Bilbao last weekend.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I'm not really used to saying that because Atletico, sometimes I feel like they're just 1-2 clicks away from being one of those fierce opponents in all of Europe. But right now, they're firing on all cylinders. I mean, it feels like there's no stopping them, almost similarly as to Liverpool. It feels like nobody's going to be able to stop them right now. So this is going to be a huge battle, a huge test for Real Madrid too. I mean, oh, this is gonna be super, super exciting. I'm not sure who could go through on this one.
Honestly, and I was telling you this off air. Champions League, yes, okay. The easy thing to do is put your money on Real Madrid. Boom, they will find a way. Okay, but that's what my head is telling me. My heart for this one is telling me Atletico Madrid. It's telling me that Diego Simeone's men are going to find a way over two legs, man.
And the thing is, if Real Madrid get knocked out, everybody's going to be looking at Atletico as the team to beat right now. Sure, I mean, of course, Liverpool is going to be up there as well. But, man.
That would be a huge statement.
Atletico Madrid, if they can knock out Real Madrid
this
early on.
Yeah.
We're only round of 16. This is a matchup we've seen before, again, like in the final.
Right.
We've seen it twice. Real Madrid have always come out on top. But with that being said, could Real Madrid have that mental edge over them? Okay, we've beaten them before. We have their number in Champions League.
Sure.
Can they just continue capitalizing on that?
Sure, but
Or does Atletico Madrid have that much of a chip on their shoulder
Yeah.
that they're going to come out into this? Of course, this first leg is at Santiago Bernabeu, so it's going to be very interesting to see how Atletico Madrid are going to come into this, right? But man, it's going to be Real Madrid.
it's so close.
I still have to give it to Real Madrid. I still think that Real Madrid are going to advance, but it's not going to be easy at all.
It won't be, but for me, and I say my heart tells me Atletico, but it's also the form that they're heading into this.
Yeah.
Real Madrid dropped the game away at Real Betis to Antony's Real Betis 2-1 away at Betis.
They did.
And, now they sit third. So they started the match week in first place. Now they're third because Barcelona, again, winning. We'll talk about them in a bit. But let's talk about Atleti's depth.
Yeah.
Because against Bilbao, a Bilbao side who I believe hadn't lost in La Liga since last October. Look at who they brought off the bench for Atleti. Marcos Llorente, Conor Gallagher, Julian Alvarez, who scored the winning goal, and they're already starting with the likes of Sorla and Griezmann up top.
Oh, man.
Correa, Jimenez at the back. I mean, this Atleti team, for me, man, it's so intimidating. Even for the likes of Real Madrid, who have not had their best of seasons.
No, and I feel like in terms of Atleti teams in the past, 10 years or so, this is probably one of the strongest we've seen
Absolutely.
in a long time. And Atleti, they've always had, I think, on paper, really, really good players.
Yeah.
But I think actually performing has been a different story. But right now, this is probably the best Atleti side we've seen in a good while. And I think they have a real chance at making it through. But I'm still going to back Real Madrid. I'm still going to back Real Madrid.
I'm
But
going
I won't be
Atletico Madrid.
I won't be surprised if Atleti go through, though.
I'm going Atleti Madrid. You're going Real Madrid. It's going to be an unbelievable 180 minutes of football. My goodness, I cannot wait. At 3 p.m. on Tuesday. It's going to be so fun. Let's move to the last Tuesday game. PSV against my Arsenal, Patrick. Now, okay, let's talk a little bit about this one because PSV knocked out Juve in the knockout round. So they will be, confident in themselves. Arsenal, we haven't scored in 2 of our last 3 games. 3 of our last 5, by the way.
Would you like to tell me about this?
Well, no, not really, if I'm being honest with you. But, 0-0 away at Forest. A good performance. You cannot discredit Arsenal's performance there. Knocked on the door. Why are you looking at me like that? Why are you looking at me like that?
Yeah.
It was a great performance. Calafiori hit the post. We got close twice or 3 times maybe, but couldn't capitalize. Away at the City Ground. A tough place to go. And then, of course, that disappointing loss against West Ham. It's going to be difficult. Marino up top, not helping the situation, Patrick.
Very awkward up top, I think.
Very awkward.
Right now for Arsenal.
Very. Who do you think is going to go through? Because I think even with those frailties, over 2 legs, surely we have to be favorites. But you don't seem convinced by that.
Not really. To be honest, no.
To be honest, think PSV continue? Exactly.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Look, PSV right now, I think it's a very interesting mix of players for me.
Absolutely.
A lot of young talent and a lot of veteran players, of course, with the likes of Luke de Jong up top, right? But behind him, you got guys like Ricardo Pepi, right? Guys that are explosive, that they can come off the bench and they can change the game immediately.
Sure.
Arsenal, I think their weakness right now is just up top. I don't feel
Can't
like
score goals.
they don't have anybody that convinces me right now that can get the job done when it's needed. So that's the only reason why I'm going to say PSV is going to go through. But, man, it's hard. But I think that for me, again, Arsenal, that's the only reason why I wouldn't have them going through. If they don't, it's going to be because of that. But if they do, I won't be surprised if they do. But this first leg is going to be in the Netherlands.
It is.
It's hard. PSV's they're going to lock it down, I'm pretty sure. I won't be surprised if Arsenal are going to walk away with no goals on this one. But they'll have all to play for at the Emirates.
That's right. You're just not seeing a Mikel Merino hat trick, man. You're just not. You don't have that vision. Knocking wood. No, but honestly, PSV is a tricky assignment, and everyone after the draw was kind of like, "Oh, Arsenal are going to be happy with this." PSV, this and that. I'm honestly not. I mean, at this stage,
even still, I think it's more favorable than I guess compared to most. But it's still a hard.
It's very tricky, tricky. Especially like we said, they just knocked out Juve, so I will side with the Gunners here. I'm not at all, confident as I think we should be. But yeah, it's going to be another close one. 1 or 2 goals in it. I wouldn't be surprised. Feyenoord Inter though, a Feyenoord now that is managed by Robin van Persie, of course, a former Feyenoord player, but an Inter side. I'm sure you saw the Federico Di Marco free kick against Napoli.
Yeah, I did see
My goodness, I mean, Inter are so good.
I think the only right answer here is Inter, because they're the only team, I guess, again, like I've said before, out of Italian football right now that is actually performing.
That's it.
Inter, I'm not even going to question it. They're going to go through. They're really strong. They're really strong.
Man.
Probably one of the most informed teams in Europe as well. They've got to be up there. I mean, Lautaro Martinez. I've never really liked him, to be honest with you, but he always seems to get the job done. It's like he always makes me shut up.
Yeah.
So he's just going to probably do that again. I wouldn't be surprised. I've got to give Inter the edge. How could you not?
Absolutely.
I think Feyenoord, they have a good side. They've done their job. They've done their bit. They've knocked off, AC Milan.
Yeah.
But I think this is where it ends for them.
I think so. 2 Italian sides, and Milan's side that is struggling right now in Serie A. Inter, complete opposite, sitting at the top, just by a point, but sitting at the top of Serie A. I think there's not much more to be said on that one. Inter to go through to the quarterfinals. Let's talk about the other domestic clash here. Patrick, Bayern against Leverkusen. Now, the main thing here for me anyway, the headline here, is that Bayern Munich have never beaten Leverkusen under Xabi Alonso. 6 games, Bayern have drawn thrice and have lost thrice. So, I mean,
thrice.
It's a great word, isn't it? I always love any opportunity I get to use it. Is Leverkusen going to cause an upset?
Honestly, I think we're going to have to give the edge to Leverkusen just because of that. And, I mean, Bayern, again, they haven't had the best of seasons either. And for Bayern standards. Domestically, whatever.
Okay,
but Champions League,
right.
they've seemed to be a little bit weaker, barely edging out sides like Celtic, for example, we saw in the last round. I've got to give it to Leverkusen. I mean, this side, ever since Xabi Alonso took over, unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, again, they knocked Bayern out of their table,
That's right.
out of the
years.
seat for the Bundesliga. Took it to them last year, absolutely crushed it. This year, a little bit kind of back to like what we're used to seeing, right? But I mean, Champions League, they've outperformed Bayern. I fully expect them to go through.
And it's interesting because you look at the Bundesliga table and you think, Bayern have steamrolled everyone. It's back to the same old. Not really, though. The difference has been in the draws.
Yeah.
They've both only lost once. But the difference was, if you remember back to last season, Leverkusen would always score a 98th minute goal, a 99th minute goal.
Ridiculous, like every game.
Exactly. This season, they really haven't had that same luck. Bayern have drawn 4 games. Leverkusen have drawn double. They've drawn 8 games. And that is where the difference has been in this Bundesliga season. So don't take the Bundesliga table, I would say take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
it really doesn't show the true story of these two teams. Bayern have looked a little, weak defensively. Kim Min-jae, Upamecano, yes, they have their games, where they perform, but I mean, I think Leverkusen might really have a strong chance of making it to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. I'd have to back Leverkusen.
I agree. Bayern getting knocked out. You heard it here first. 2 more to get through, Patrick. So many ties to look forward to. Of course, we've moved into the Wednesday fixtures. Benfica, Barcelona. Now, Barcelona are a machine at the moment. 15 undefeated since they lost at home against Atletico Madrid. Of course, that sore last-minute winner. But for Benfica, 8 straight wins after the 5-4 loss they suffered against Barcelona earlier this Champions League campaign. Over 2 legs.
What?
Patrick.
What could we expect? 'Cause
Right.
I think that's the talking point. Okay, we saw them play already, right?
Was that a
Once.
fluke? Was the 5-4 a fluke or a true preview as to what we're going to see? What do you think?
I think honestly it might be toned down a little bit just
Sure.
because at that point in time, right, Barcelona was still kind of in that really weird rocky
Yeah, roller
form, so it's
coaster
like
out,
we
yeah.
couldn't tell what was going on with them. Right now they seem to be more stable,
Sure.
right? Both sides are more stable.
I agree.
So I could expect probably a lot of goals, but maybe more like the likes of like a 3-2, something like that for the first game, 2-1 the next.
Barcelona to go through?
I gotta give them the edge as
Yeah.
well. I think that's the most realistic option here. I mean, sure, 8 straight wins is super impressive,
Sure.
but you could argue also that, the quality in Portugal is just not at the same level
Oh,
as
absolutely.
Spain.
Absolutely.
You move out of the top four, it's a pretty real drop off.
Mm-hmm.
Spain, I mean, it's competitive all around. I'd say it's up there for sure. So Barcelona, I gotta give it to them. Barcelona for sure. And,
Yeah.
I mean, their players, these guys are having a great season individually as well.
Rafinha.
Yeah.
Yamal. Lewandowski. Seems like he scores at least a goal every game. In the midfield,
And
the
you don't
youngsters.
hear about it, which is the crazy thing.
Yeah.
I don't feel like you hear any buzz around it.
Not really, not really. And they just beat Real Sociedad, a strong, competitive
Mm-hmm.
Real Sociedad side in La Liga, 4-0 last
Yeah.
weekend. I mean, that is huge. You cannot look past that. But I think, Barca won a chaotic. We're probably going to look back at it at the end of the season as a game of the season, that
Yeah.
5-4 in Portugal. But I think now, over two legs, it has to be Barca. It has to be Barca. I think Benfica, again, it's one of those things. They knock out Monaco, 4-3 on aggregate in the knockout round. They can be happy with their Champions League campaign, but I think it might come to an end at the round of 16 stage. But not to say we've left the best for last here, but it's probably
Up
the biggest
there,
one,
right.
at least in the biggest three. PSG Liverpool to finish things off, Patrick, in the second segment. Wow. I mean, lots to pick into here as well. PSG, let's talk about them a
Yeah.
little bit. 22 undefeated. Not
Grain of
really.
salt.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's France. I mean, how much can you read into that? 3 losses for PSG this season, Patrick, and they've all been in the Champions League. Against who? Arsenal at the Emirates.
Congratulations.
When we had a striker.
Give Arsenal the "We beat PSG" trophy.
Oh, okay. I will not be accepting that. Arsenal, Atletico Madrid,
Yes.
Bayern. So when PSG come up against the big dogs in Europe, they tend to fail.
They've also had a really rocky Champions League season. Because
Yeah.
we remember, it was do or die against Manchester
That's
City, right?
right.
They did pull through.
They did.
So that's what kept them in here. So that's why they're here right now. Of course, the 10-0 against Brest over the course of 2 legs.
Yeah, I mean,
Ouch.
yeah.
But now they're facing, I feel like, a really good threat to them. Liverpool.
the
and this-
best team in the world. I
Yeah.
will not even hesitate in saying that.
Yeah, so Liverpool, I mean, okay, let's go back to PSG real quick. You look at their players they have right now, like Dembele. He's playing really, really
Oh,
well.
yeah,
We've said this,
2025, incredible.
we've said this a lot already, but man, he's having his best season. But we can just, I feel like for me though, that's the only real talking point personally.
That's it.
Personally, for me, maybe I just don't have ball knowledge, but for me, that's the only talking point I can think of for PSG. Whereas Liverpool, you can go on for their whole roster,
Yeah.
essentially. You can go on their actual Premier League performance, throw that in there, because Premier League is also extremely competitive, and they've handled, the title race is done. It ended weeks ago.
I agree.
Ended weeks ago. And they've locked it up. They can pretty much focus on Champions League, I
Yeah.
would say now. Sure, they've got knocked out of, FA Cup,
Plymouth are gone.
right?
But that's I think they've
Care about,
proven that
you know.
it's a fluke. Because they've lost 4 games this season. It's only a handful. They haven't lost in the Premier League since match day 4, and we're about to enter 28 now.
Wow.
I mean,
Like,
it's just
unreal.
it's unbelievable.
The ability to do that consistently, week in, week out, that's unmatched.
Under a new manager as well.
In his first, yeah.
In his first year, taking over from Klopp, that cannot be underestimated.
No.
I think that just makes what Slot has done with his Liverpool side this season even greater, because everyone thought the end of the world was going to happen for Liverpool, but Slot has gone in there, like we've said many, many times before, and has done wonders with this team. They are inevitable. I do think PSG...
They'll put up a good fight, but
Yeah.
you have to say Liverpool's.
And it goes back to the same thing, like we always talk about PSG. In Europe, they fall short.
They can't get it done.
Yeah.
So I don't have confidence in them getting it done, especially against Liverpool.
I hope they are preparing to face Mo Salah because he's about to just run riot, I think. It's going to be another great matchup, though. 8 to look forward to, 8 already previewed. Wow, that was a marathon second segment. That was fun, Patrick. But let's move back to local soccer. Is promotion and relegation coming to U.S. soccer? Question mark. Stay tuned to find out.
Something new, something fresh, yeah, I'm super obsessed. Let me know when you done messing. A little that, a little this, then you put it to the test. It's all in the expression. It's a mood, it's a vibe, it's a state of mind. And now I want it more. It's a mood, it's a vibe, it's a state of mind. Okay, you got the floor, it's looking good. I kinda like that.
Right, everyone, thanks for sticking with us because we're going to end this segment talking more local soccer, talking more local, and it's big news. USL,
Yes.
United Soccer League, has recently made a huge announcement that they want to create a league, right, to rival MLS, potentially bringing in an open system to the U.S. soccer pyramid for the first ever time, Patrick. Before I throw it to you, let's have a little history lesson because, of course,
Yes.
the 94 U.S. World Cup, what did that lead to? 96, MLS kicked off, right? The 2026 World Cup, of course, is going to be here, Canada, Mexico, but mainly here. Will that lead to promotion and relegation finally coming to U.S. soccer? They're planning around 2027, 28. I think parallels can be drawn 30 years later.
Absolutely, and I think now is the time to do it.
Absolutely.
I mean, honestly, it should have happened a long time ago.
Sure, I agree.
You could argue that, but I think right now we're at a point where I think, what's the word? We're stalling at the top. We're not necessarily going any higher right now.
The glass ceiling, we've kind of hit it.
Yeah, you've hit the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
You've reached that point. You need something, and that something is going to be promotion
Wow.
relegation. So USL, they're going to finally get a D1 sanctioned division. So that's going to be on par with MLS, right? Because right now, the pyramid, of course, it's a closed system. So it's really weird to have MLS, Championship 1, 2,
Right.
and everything in between, right?
Yeah.
But now you can actually have USL Premier and MLS on the same level. And then you know Championship 1, 2. So obviously this, I'm sure, invites many exciting thoughts as well. Because
Sure.
think about it, we have our USL 2 side,
Oh.
right? Obviously, promotion, relegation, these things take a lot of time and money and effort, right? You know, but that's like an actual possibility in
Yeah, with the
couple
open
years'
system,
time.
of course.
You see that in almost every other country. You have the ability to just start up a team on your own. Sure, it's going to take a lot of time and effort and money.
Yeah.
But you can make your way up. And that's the beauty of it. I
That
think that's
is,
what
it
everybody wants.
really
Everybody
is.
wants the opportunity
Yeah.
to be at the top, right?
Yeah.
So imagine seeing, the Nona FC side, in League One. We get promoted to League
I
One.
mean,
And
wouldn't
even-
that just be so special?
Even still,
Yeah.
and like League One, it's already really good support in there as well. So, and that's where the professional status comes
That's
in,
right,
because
that's where it
USL
starts.
2 is semi-pro/amateur. League One is professional, and so on.
Yeah.
But that now we're gonna go back to MLS. How are the owners gonna look at this? Because this is an investment for them
Sure,
that they've bought
yeah.
into, spent hundreds of millions of dollars. Right now, they're gonna see it's at risk. People are gonna start potentially leaving because they can see, hey, this is something I'm more interested in. This is something that reflects, European and other leagues, right? Because a lot of people that you can see, they don't watch any American soccer because they're always like, oh, there's no promotion relegation. Okay, so now that we have promotion relegation, are you going to go and watch your USL sides?
Yeah.
That is the question right now. And I think that's going to invite so many, not just fans domestically, but internationally, because they'll actually look at it and take things seriously. They'll see that there are stakes involved.
Boom. You just opened the door into where I wanted to go as well. This is the step that needs to be taken for U.S. soccer to be taken seriously.
Yes.
Once and for all. Period.
Yes.
Point blank. Because, okay, we've hit kind of like the 30-team mark in MLS.
You can't.
How much more can you realistically grow? Realistically. Of course, yes, the U.S. is huge. And you could probably grow it to 40, 50 if you want. But how realistic is that? And at that point, are you even helping the situation at all, you know? So I think the open system, I think it adds that edge that MLS maybe lacks. Of course, in American sport, promotion relegation, it's like, what's that, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just
the thought of a
Yeah.
second division is
It's
like
unfathomable.
don't even bring that up. to me,
Exactly,
you know?
because of course, you know, doesn't need to be said, but of course, American sports, it's major leagues and then minor leagues. That's
Yeah.
it. And then the minor leagues are usually affiliated with the
Right.
major league teams, and
Right.
and there's no. That's not even a question. How is a AAA team in baseball going to play MLB? It's just not possible. But soccer brings a completely different just element to it all.
Yeah.
It's completely incomparable. You just can't compare.
And think about it. You know, how many professional teams does London have across their top 4 tiers? Like 14, I think, something like that.
Yeah, it's
And
close to 20.
that's not even including the non-league teams.
Exactly.
So imagine that number.
Yeah.
That's what every city could have here in the
Yeah.
United States. Orlando could have, I know, sure, I understand soccer's not as popular
Sure,
yet,
sure.
but this could be that boost. You know, sure, you could have in the entire Orlando greater area, right?
Mhm.
You could have a couple professional teams on different tiers,
Competing,
sure,
fighting
but
it
they'll
out.
still be competing.
Yeah.
They'll still be trying to make their way up, or they'll be going down.
Mm.
That's what I would love to see. You
Yeah.
know, you could go back to even our smaller communities. They can start up, and they can move their way up. You know, that's so fun to think
It
about.
is.
That's something that, sure, I would never want to feel how it feels to get relegated, but it's like I think that's something that somebody you have to, I feel like, experience almost. You got to go through
I
the tough
agree.
times.
Hey,
You got to go
that's
through the
part
tough
of it.
times, and you'll feel amazing when you
Yeah.
know. Think about it. There's some teams out there, you know, that are just stuck in the same league for their entire existence, and they get promoted, say to like I don't know the championship in England or
Right.
League One in England,
Mm.
and it's like
The biggest thing
there's
ever.
no better feeling
No.
than that, right? So imagine the communities right now that are kind of just stuck in say USL 2. There are hundreds of clubs in USL 2. USL League 1, there's only a handful, right? But imagine they want to play at the highest level. They want to play against the best teams. So imagine they get the opportunity to say, "Hey, we can make it to MLS. We can make it to USL Premier." You know?
So, question then.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about, okay, the MLS billionaire owners, because that's what they are now.
That's I think the main issue.
The level has reached that. Will they look at it as a threat and maybe
They
be like,
have to.
ooh, if this thing kicks off, if this thing goes as well as we plan and expect it to, is there a potential merger going to happen? Because, look, I mean, MLS is not just going to be like, oh, yeah, USL, congratulations. No, they're going to want the spotlight still.
Yeah.
And I think if that does happen, right? Let's say USL kicks off, boom, the USL Premier League, let's call it that, doesn't have a name yet, kicks off and does well. MLS is going to look at it and be like, oof, we've been doing this wrong all along. Maybe merge, but then that would require a full restructuring of the structure
course.
because,
But
like
it's
you
necessary.
said,
It needs
USL
to
1,
happen.
how many teams? 12?
12, 14?
Championship, similar.
It's similar, like 24 now.
And then USL 2, if you're going to bring that into the equation, hundreds, it's going to require a complete, reshuffling.
Yeah. So again, I've said to you before, like USL 2, I kind of see that more as like look at how they work with like the non-league stuff in
Yeah.
other countries, right?
So maybe break that down further?
You have to
Yeah.
because you can't promote everybody from
True.
each division.
Exactly.
You gotta so you know at the end of the day, out of the hundreds of teams, you could probably promote 3 to USL 1.
Right.
You know, but that's the challenging part. But that's what makes it rewarding because you get to that, you feel invincible, right? You see, National League in England, like only 1, 2 teams go up every year.
That's right.
Not a lot, and same in Germany, same in
Yeah,
Spain.
yeah.
It's especially Spain. I don't know if you've looked at like the third division structure.
Oh my goodness.
You fall in that pit, you're not coming out.
No, there's
that's how
multiple
devastating.
groups
That's how
and it's by
devastating it
territory,
is.
yeah.
It's you fall into that pit, you are
It's
not
tough.
coming out.
Yeah.
But I think that's the drama we need.
It is.
Imagine the storylines.
Oh my
Imagine
goodness.
all the crazy storylines
Wow.
we could have in this country. All the really true and authentic rivalries we could have in this country. Imagine, I don't know, like 2 teams, like professional teams here in Orlando, right?
Yeah.
A relegation dogfight. And one of them goes, like,
Yeah.
for example. But these are the possibilities that we can actually have and experience for once. And that's what I think everybody just wants to have, that true, authentic football experience.
Which the closest thing we've had right, in U.S. soccer is the Open Cup, and even that's
Even
coming
still.
under pressure and under threat.
And even you've seen how it changed over the last couple of years. Everybody hates the
It's
changes.
kind of neglecting it.
It's
which is sad to
it's
see,
really
but
because it's meant for every single club,
course,
and
and
now
we
MLS
saw-
doesn't even incorporate all of their
Exactly,
clubs
and we
into
saw how, of course, Orlando won it in 2022.
Yeah.
I was there. I should know that. Sacramento Republic.
Yeah.
You know, championship side made it to the final of the Open Cup. Yes, of course, that's just a little snippet of what can actually happen, but it shows that, you know, when those championship sides get the opportunity, many of them have been waiting for this their
it. Of
whole
course,
careers, their whole history.
and
For many of
arguably
these
some
clubs.
like respectfully, these are probably some of the biggest games these guys will play. So they're
Sure.
gonna take every advantage of it.
Absolutely.
You know, that Sacramento Republic side, they knocked off a few MLS clubs as
Yeah.
well on their way to the final. And now, if the real possibility of promotion and relegation, the more money will come. The investment, the quality will go up even further.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, we've seen it happening slowly in this system that we already have in the U.S., but imagine what it can bring on a real, true football system.
I think
Here.
it's a very exciting prospect. Of course, everyone's going to have their different opinions on it. Club owners, media, you know, players, coaches, they're all going to have their different opinions. And it's, of course, many years out. And I think it's important that they made this announcement now. They're, showing intent. But like we
'Cause
said, there's a
here's
lot
the
to
thing.
figure out.
USL, they've always kind of played with that idea. They've always thrown it around saying,
Right.
okay, we're going to implement or think about implementing
But now it's
USL
serious.
promotion
It seems
relegation.
serious now.
Now it's like, okay, they're going this far. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
I have no doubt that it's going to happen for sure.
Oh, well, very interesting. Of course, we still have a whole World Cup to look forward to before any of this. But yeah, very interested to see what happens with that. We got to keep our eyes on how it all develops. But that about wraps up this edition of the NONA Sports Show. Patrick, that was fun.
Yes.
Lots of interesting conversations to be had. You're going to want to tune in with us next week as well, because we're going to be looking back on those round of 16 first legs and, of course, cover any news like we always do. So from Patrick, from myself, from the NONA studio, take care and see you next week.